Did you want to work in investment when you were at school? Did you know anyone who worked in it, or did you even know what it was?
I didn't want to work in investment management when I was at school because I didn't really know what investment management was back when I was at school. I didn't know anybody in the industry, and the little bit I did know was from the news, and that was kind of negative because it was the height of the financial crisis. At the time, I didn't realise I was naively and probably incorrectly tarring everyone and everything to do with the financial services industry with the same brush, when in actual fact there's a lot of positive things that it brings to society.
When I was at school, I originally wanted to be a lawyer. I didn't know much at all about the world of investments because it wasn't a career path that was well publicised to girls at that time.
When I was at school, I had no idea about investment. In all honesty, I only knew the jobs around me, like being a teacher, or the ones that you went to university to become, like studying law to be a lawyer. So I didn't know anyone who worked in finance, let alone the specific area of investment. And all I knew of investment was from films where people shouted about the market.
I didn't want to work in investment when I was at school because basically I didn't know what it was. I didn't know anything about it. I came from a background where no one in my family had even been to university. We didn't think about jobs like that, working in offices. And it was something that therefore I didn't know anybody who was actually involved in investment either. So it wasn't so much that I didn't want to do it, I knew absolutely nothing about it.
So did I want to work in investments when I was at school? The honest answer is no. I didn't have a clue what I wanted to work as when I was at school. I really couldn't see past exams, and even when I left school I still didn't know, so I took a couple of years out after school to work in an office to try and figure out what I wanted to study eventually, and I ended up going to university 2 years after I left school. But yeah, I truly didn't even know what I wanted to study at the time, so it's really okay not to know for definite what you want to do right at this time.
I didn't know what career path to take when I was at school, but I knew I didn't want to go to college or university, so I got a job as an administrator, which I really enjoyed, but I was always keen to learn more. This led me on to approaching an employment agency who put me in touch with an investment management firm who were looking for an administration assistant to join their team. I didn't know anybody who worked in investment management at the time, but I quickly realised when I was in the role that I really enjoyed what I was doing, and I approached my managers and asked them if I could work towards my Securities Institute exams and becoming an investment manager.
What did you study, and how does it relate to your career, if it relates at all?
At school I studied 4 hires and an intermediate 2, and those hires were English, biology, art and geography. The intermediate 2 was maths. Working as a financial planner now, I shouldn't really say that maths wasn't my strong point, but I always say there's always a calculator.
I studied classical music at university, which obviously has nothing to do with investments, but I feel that it taught me confidence when speaking to strangers and if I had to present in front of a larger audience. And it taught me a lot of self-discipline as well, and self-motivation, because I had to spend a lot of my time rehearsing and practicing out with scheduled class time.
What I studied at school doesn't relate directly to my job, but it taught me some skills which were really transferable to having a career in investment, and I do believe that the skills I was taught doing these qualifications actually helped me to get my apprenticeship.
I studied accountancy and finance at university, and I think it's fair to say that much of it was actually relevant. However, in my intake at ASI on the grad scheme, we had students studying Spanish and engineering and history, starting alongside those who studied economics, accounting and finance degrees.
I did undergraduate studies in Lithuania when I did economics and business management, and thereafter I did master's studies at the University of Edinburgh, where I studied economics again. You may think that I studied economics, so it must be so close to investment management industry. Well, yes and no. I still studied a lot of maths and a lot of theory that you never use in your everyday role. However, most important things, what you learn in the university is not the actual stuff and theory. It's the skills that you learn. It's the skills of analytical and critical thinking that you are able to apply later on in life in any place that you're at. So don't worry that don't think that you have to study mathematics in order to be successful in my career. Plenty of my colleagues did a number of various things, which all come very useful.
How did you actually get into your job?
I joined Standard Life Aberdeen as a trainee a year after leaving school. A year in, I decided I was going to go to university because I knew what I wanted to do and I knew pursuing a degree in economics would be beneficial. So that's where I'm now. I'm in my first year of uni and I'm also still working at Standard Life Aberdeen as a trainee.
After leaving 5th year at school, I decided to get a job for a year and move on to do some work before I went to university to become a midwife. It's a little bit surreal now to think back and think how much my career path has changed. After 6 months of working as the office junior for a wealth management company at the time, I was approached by a member of the financial planning team and I was asked if I would like to study for my financial planning exams and help in that department. So 18 exams later, I have gone from being the office junior to a chartered financial planner, and I now have my own client book.
For my application with UBS, I had to do a series of interviews and a numerical test. They were honestly really, really enjoyable, and the application process was a very enjoyable experience from my opinion.
In terms of getting into the industry, I really fell into it. I had to find a job for a year as part of my university course, and the role that I ended up taking on was in an investment firm. It wasn't really by design, it was really just by accident that I managed to find this role. It was meant to be temporary for the 1 year, but in actual fact at the end of that time, my boss asked what my plans were, would I consider staying on. Clearly I wanted to go back to university to finish my degree, and so I was able to do that. At university I could switch onto the part-time course and finish my last couple of years at night school. So that was great, so I was able to work and learn at the same time. It was tough. I was at night school for 2 nights a week until 10 o'clock. For 2 years, so it was a commitment, but I ended up graduating with my same class and I had a job. I was at that point 3 years into working in the firm, and I eventually stayed there for 25 years, and that was a long and exciting journey.
So I got into this job just straight from university. So honestly, when I started looking for jobs, I didn't have a clue where to start. So I just started looking for jobs that had marketing in the title. Luckily, I got a call from Baillie Gifford and they asked me to come in for an interview. So I interviewed a couple of times. I actually ended up not getting the first job that I interviewed for at Baillie Gifford, but our human resource department, they let me know that there was another team looking for somebody else and they thought I would be a good fit. So they interviewed me for that, and luckily I got the job.
What would you do if you were me, a student this year who's interested in working in investment?
If I was a school student again and I was interested in working in investment, I think the best advice that I would give you would be to get as much work experience as you can. It doesn't necessarily have to be in investment or in the financial services industry. Even just doing admin in the summer holidays or getting a job in a coffee shop, it shows employers that you want to develop your personal and professional skills. It shows them that you're driven and that you want to work.
If I was you and I wanted to get into the investment industry, I would do the groundwork to look around at different firms, do your research, from small firms to large firms. Get on the internet, do lots of searches, and find where all of those opportunities are. Using social media, get in touch with people. LinkedIn is a wonderful tool for making connections. That's a wonderful place to get yourself a nice smart profile. And don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to say, I'm interested in industry. Is anybody out there willing to help me? Is there any work experience or even just a couple of hours in an office to understand and to speak with professionals? And you'll be quite surprised how many people will be willing to help. And that should be the best advice. Go and do your research.
If I was a school student in 2020 and interested in working in the investment industry, I would definitely look at firms' websites such as Baillie Gifford, as we do offer summer internships for those still at school and of course university as well, and it's something definitely worth applying for. Many of the individuals that have undertaken such internships, once they've graduated, they have then come back and actually got full-time positions, so it's definitely a worthwhile exercise.
Be bold, be fierce, and stop apologizing. You are the future. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask for advice. You will be surprised to find out how many people want to help you. You are the future asset.